Okay, we are streaming live for the Athens Affordable Housing Commission meeting. And let's see, don't think that at this point we have a quorum, but
We should.
6. Oh yes, we do. There we go.
We should have 6 members and to the 11 member body,
yeah.
I think.
Great. Oh, hey. My computer just popped up, so I'm going to try to jump in from my computer because then I can see everyone at once. Hopefully I won't disappear entirely. Apparently I can be in twice. Maybe. So first thing up on the agenda is to establish a quorum, which there are 6 of us here. And next up, I'm going to propose that we postpone approval of the minutes since we had a little bit, it's been a while since we've met and we had a little confusion about where our most recent minutes were. And so just to give everybody time to review them. I think, Sarah, did I see you just sent them out, correct?
Sent them out, but those are January's. Still, nobody's really clear on whether or not we had quorum in February.
I feel like the last meeting we had, there was not a quorum, and that meeting, but does anyone remember taking minutes at February's meeting? Is that the one that you were out of town, Sarah?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I think I was in Australia for that one.
It seems like ages ago that anyone could have been in Australia.
Yeah.
So if anyone happens to remember taking minutes at a February meeting, that would be great. If those could be shared out. And obviously we do have a few people absent today, so that one of our absent members may have minutes.
Either way, I think January's will need to be approved because if we don't find the missing meeting minutes of the meeting that we may or may not have had, we still need to approve these.
Approve January's, yeah. So I'll pull up this.
So I'm going to note that we will approve. We're going to hold approval of the minutes until the next meeting.
Yeah, thanks. Just so then we have a chance to actually read through them and refresh our memories of what happened. Next, Paul, do you have a couple of updates for us on some projects you've been working on?
Sure. I don't have the agenda in front of me. Was there, I think there's 2 I wanted to share, but the first one is there's been an affordable housing tax credit project that we've communicated about several times now that started late last year. This is a project that would be roughly at State Route 682 around Logue Road. That's across from the main entrance at University Estates. That project, it's outside the city limits, but the property owners are petitioning to be annexed into the city right now. If Planning Commission and the City Council are supportive of that as well, the county commissioners have to be supportive. It should be annexed by the end of this year, we believe, or very early January. The applicants for it, which is a housing development company I think based out of Columbus called WODA. They do affordable housing tax credit projects all over the Midwest. They did the old Nelsonville High School project in Nelsonville a few years ago. as well as they have a small one in Albany, if I'm not mistaken. They were approved for their credits from the Ohio Housing Finance Agency earlier this year. I think it'll be about 72 units, give or take, of affordable housing with 2 and 3 bedroom units that should be coming online if this project is approved. We've been in communication with the developers for, at least I've been in communication with them almost on a weekly basis, as well as their legal counsel, to get the project moving forward. And now we're kind of giving them information about zoning expectations and the particulars of the city development regulations and permitting process. So we're working through that right now. Their goal is to get groundbreaking for this. Well, they can't really break ground until the annexation is complete, but they're expecting that it would be starting earth moving in spring, late winter or spring of 2021. Okay, so that was one of them. The other one, I believe, Sarah.
The age-friendly city.
Yes. Oh, thank
Right?
you. Okay. So we have, we were calling it age-friendly Athens, but we've moved it to age-friendly Athens County. There's a large group of, on our steering committee that includes elected officials, housing advocates, seniors advocates, people at the city and the county level, elected officials, leadership. Moving this forward as a program through the American Association for Retired People for Athens County to be designated as an age-friendly place or age-friendly community. It's a 2-year planning process with the first year being data collection, et cetera. The committee, there's a series of what they call domains, which are basically the topics that will go into an age-friendly plan for Athens County. Among those topics is housing, transportation, sustainability, social aspects, all kinds of things like that to be evaluating for this plan. Shauna Bolin, who I think is still on our Affordable Housing Committee, as well as myself, we are the co-chairs of the housing domain, and we are just getting started. We're trying to have a meeting sometime this week. Chris Nisley from City Council, she's also represented on that. We'll be focusing on the needs for housing for older people in Athens, both within the city limits as well as in Athens County. So our first steps as a subcommittee, we're going to be looking at all the information that's already out there, information from the university and city housing task force that was the impetus for this commission to be created, as well as some other information that the Athens County Foundation and other communities around the region have. If anybody on this committee is interested in serving on this plan as a whole, it doesn't have to be on the housing topic, but if there's any interest in that, by all means, let me know, and I can get you in touch with Rebecca Miller. Has been she's with the Voinovich. No, she's with the university. Rebecca has been kind of the leader for moving this project along, so I can get you in touch with her. It's a really good planning process. AARP staff out of Columbus are helping us with it, and it's a really important need, as many of us know, that we've been talking about the need for senior housing in Athens for the 12 years I've been here, plus at least 8 years before that. Joyce, I see you shaking your head. More than 20 years would be my bet. And so we're finally getting, I shouldn't say finally, but we are, there seems to be a critical mass of people that want to focus on this issue. And of course, all of us are, we are all going through an aging process, regardless of how old we are today.
No.
It's true.
I reject that reality, Paul.
I'm going to be shaving my beard tonight so that because I'm sick of looking at all the gray in it.
It creeps up on you, trust me. I was in my 20s when I started with seniors.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Paul about either the affordable housing development out of off of 682 or the age-friendly Athens County project?
I do. Is the property, the complex on 682, is that going to be like a single unit, like an apartment complex, or is it going to be townhomes or?
It'll, the images that they showed us, Susan, they were just kind of some conceptual renderings, but it should be a couple buildings, 3 or 4 buildings roughly. I think it's actually 2 projects. They have 2 different names for them. Actually, they're the same group that did Beaumont Green, now that I'm thinking about it, out on the far east side of Athens. But there'll be, I think there'll be 3 or 4 buildings with each having a series of units in it, probably 3 stories.
And all rental units, correct?
Yeah,
All-
tax credit, exactly. Tax credit units, correct.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They own the land? They won't own the land, will they?
They are, I believe they will be purchasing either some or all of it. Initial conversations were to be purchasing roughly a third of it, which is about 20 acres, I think. However, they may be interested in purchasing all of it, is my understanding, but
Okay, thank you.
of course.
Okay, next thing up is Noah, and Paul and Noah and I had a meeting a week and a half ago, and then we asked for him to share his recent experiences here with the whole commission. Are you ready to go, Noah? Okay, take it away.
Thank you, Sarah. I know that all of you know pieces of my housing story, especially you, Paul, because we've touched on my personal life a little during other meetings we've had. I am going to share the whole story with you just to give background of a situation that I'm dealing with right now. In 2007, I applied for a HUD voucher and I was awarded one pretty quickly, and they showed me 7,055 North Blackburn, which all of us are familiar with. I immediately fell in love with the place. It was the most suitable house I'd gotten since I'd been out on my own. Before this, I'd lived in low-income apartment complexes or low-income housing developments. I could share horror stories about those places, but all you are smart and can your imaginations. Anyway, Blackburn had some problems, and as some you might know that I spoke out the problems with that place. During the time I did occupy Blackburn, some improvements were made. I'm very proud of myself for getting that beautiful new driveway. Anyway, in 2018, I met a woman. At least she looked like a woman, but we won't get into that. Well, actually, I will, and you'll understand why after you hear this whole story. So things ended up moving really fast. Within a couple of months, I was staying at her place nonstop because she had kids and stuff. One of the rules with HUD is if you're hardly occupying your dwelling, you can get in trouble. So I was kind of in a place where I felt like I had to make a very difficult decision. Not that it mattered now, but I did check if I had a safety net if things did ever go south. Of course, I was assured that I did. By now, you're probably starting guessing where this story is going, and you're right. But there are twists and turns to it that might be hard to believe. Here's a little side story. During the time I did live with my ex, I ended up filing a lawsuit that involved 2 complainants. We ended up settling out of court. Of course, I can't disclose the amount of the settlement, but let's just say it was a good chunk of change. Unfortunately, the things went downhill very quickly with my girlfriend. She was emotionally abused, and she had a son that was downright crazy and threw fits daily. I started looking into my options to get out of an unsafe and unhealthy environment in which to keep my services through the county board I'm supposed to live in a safe and healthy environment. Anyways, I looked into my options. I put in applications into the low-income apartment complexes. We all know how the waiting lists are for those places. So eventually, I even tried finding a homeless shelter. Well, there is no homeless options for a disabled man in Athens. In the latter part of October, I'd had enough. So I went to my parents for a night to figure out what to do. I getting an Airbnb room just out of town for a week paid out of my trust, which that money isn't meant for living expenses. Anyway, during that week, I didn't find a good solution. As you know, breakups can be very messy. My girlfriend came and hung with me some during that week. She asked me to come back home temporary. I did that. That didn't last long. I know you're probably thinking, why is he telling us this story? Well, we're just getting to the really important part. Right now, I am going to list off some facts. When I was homeless and went to apply for HUD, they said I couldn't because I did not have a permanent address. So anyway, in March of 2019, I was awarded a 2-bedroom voucher. You get 90 days to find a unit. After that, you can file extension. They did give me one extension. People with disabilities are allowed to get extensions up to a year. They would not grant me another extension. So I submitted another application. I get on the waiting list. So I thought. Meanwhile, discussion of me getting Blackburn back became a topic of discussion. So earlier this year, one was looking at places that were less expensive. I found one place that I kind of liked. But I asked the County Board of Developmental Disabilities to find out what exactly was happening with Blackburn. At that time, I was told, yes, indeed, I was on waiting the list, and once the unit remodeling was completed, I could get the unit back. So I stopped looking for a place. At that time, I was assured that I was on the waiting list. So anyway, about the middle of June of this year, 1D still haven't nothing. So I had someone from County Board looking into it. So far, MHA has me 3 different answers to specific question and haven't answered some my team email. Before I open things up for discussion, I want to say a couple of more things. I've been thinking about what us as local government can do to try to remedy situation so we ensure people with disabilities have an equal and fair access to housing to become or to continue to be a part of our great community that we all love. Now, what is your thought or questions?
Does anyone have any specific questions for Noah about this experience, or any thoughts on actions that city government or we as a commission could recommend to change this process, or streamline it somehow, make it so that it is less challenging for individuals with disabilities to find and afford safe housing?
Well, this is a federal process, yes?
I think this, excuse me, but I think this is what we've been moving toward with the commission throughout, was trying to find those, you know, I can't, the zero grade entries, the housing, all of our recommendations that we've made for, you know, new developments and stuff have been based on making it not only friendly for people with disabilities, people aging, but for all individuals. So I think we're trying very hard to make those recommendations. I'm just not sure how fast anything can happen, Noah. I'm sorry. That's just, the reality is we know it's there, and we can't really, even as much as we try, we can't really fix some of those things.
Paul, do you know for the WODA development, this commission did have specific recommendations as far as the universal design. Do you know anything about percentage of units that would be universal design or anything like that? And if we do complete the annexation process, then how much say would we have over the implementation of those recommendations? Like, because we're not providing the tax credits, so how much how much say do we have in what they build?
Not sure exactly how to answer that question, Sarah, as far as what their intentions are with their project. I don't know the details offhand, but I will by all means ask for that. Like I said, I'm hoping to schedule a meeting with them and our code director and our public works director sometime this week, so I'll include that on the agenda. As far as, it's probably better for them to speak about what they can or cannot do if it's not satisfactory for what this commission's responsibilities are, or what our goals are. They're like all developers, they're looking at a ledger, and they've got a target rent price that they need to be at or below. And so they need to be looking at it. And of course, the tax credit part of that, it's it's basically public-private partnership strategies. And so they're a private entity who's doing the development. And so they're looking at the ledger from how they profit from it, of course. I don't have great answers for you today, but I will look into, I will see what I can learn for us.
Yeah, Sarah, the challenge with that is whenever you're using tax credits like that to build a project, it's a very slim margin, and density matters. And so they have to get as many units on a bit of property as they can to make that pro forma work. And so my guess would be that, if we came in and said, you need to make all of these, first floor handicap accessible units, it wouldn't be financially feasible for them to do project at all, and they would just pull out altogether, and then we wouldn't have those housing units. So that's been a challenge in a lot of communities, especially where land is a little bit pricey. So that's what I was asking about the other challenges that Noah is having. Those programs are all federal programs. Am I right? The ones that he's having the most challenge with, those are
right through the Metropolitan Housing Authority.
Right.
It's going to be federal. Yeah. So that's
very challenging for us to dictate timelines there. We can't. I've tried to do that with CDBG and tried to appease to, and it's absolutely a brick wall. So I don't think we can influence those timelines.
I was hoping that our representative from MHA would be here today, but she's not. I sometimes feel like, and I'm sure all of you are familiar with this, like we go around in circles because we have limited power, like not just we as a commission, but the city, and as more and more limited resources at this point in time. So it's like, well, trying to plead with people who have more authority and money to help us achieve the goals we'd like to see accomplished. The one thing that Keith Andrews had brought to us before he left the commission, and that is the next thing on the agenda, ties to this, and it's something that I will pursue and work on, and that is the prohibition on discrimination against source of funding for housing. And I've been noticing in housing ads, like where places are being advertised as available for rent, that people will specifically say no HUD. And that is discrimination based on source of income. And a bill has been introduced in committee at the State House, the last, that would do this statewide. However, the last action on that was just in May to postpone. So I'm going to work on an ordinance for the city of Athens that would prohibit discrimination based on source of income. But I'm going to be upfront and say, I don't think that will actually create a lot of change in availability, because you can just price out of the eligibility for assistance and for vouchers, because they have a cap based, that's the cost can't be over a certain amount, including rent and utilities, and of course I believe that the vast majority of properties within the city are typically priced outside of those ranges, but it's at least a statement, and maybe would lead to discussion about how housing shortages and housing challenges impact people locally. So I'm beginning work on that ordinance, and we'll be hoping to bring it to council in the next couple of weeks. And we'll keep the team updated on how that goes. So was there anything else related to Noah's story, or Susan? I noticed you're unmuted. Did you have something to chime in?
Yeah, saying no HUD is definitely discrimination, and it's unacceptable. Do rental properties need to be HUD approved prior to a landlord
Yes.
taking the certificate? Who does that here? And does the Metropolitan Housing do that?
Yeah, MHA. I don't own them anymore, but I used to have a couple of different units that I rented to individuals or families through MHA, individuals on vouchers. And for me, it was actually a very simple process. It just meant that in addition to city code enforcement doing inspections, an individual from MHA came and conducted an inspection, just to be sure that access and safety met their criteria as well as the city's code enforcement criteria. And I had to make sure that the cost of the rent plus utilities met their formula. And so we would end up with these odd dollar rent amounts, like $432, or different rental amounts, just to make it fit their calculation. And it was just a little bit more paperwork, but it was not overly burdensome, but it was, units that could market rent for $600, $650. Max, if going through MHA, would be more like $525, $550. And then sometimes I was like, well, if I was renting to college students, I could rent it for $600 and they would pay their own utilities. Going through MHA, it'd be maybe $530, and I have to pay 2 of the utilities, things like that. So it was so I know why landlords don't do it, because it's, if your objective is maximizing profits and minimizing paperwork, that's not the route to go. But it was also a way that I felt like I could, with minimal effort, I could help some people out. And usually the way it worked is MHA sent me a check for their portion, and that was mailed directly to me. And I always knew, well, at least if a tenant flakes, I'm going to get the MHA portion of it.
Guaranteed.
Yeah, so that was
So-
guaranteed. And it's just finding people who are willing to consider it is a little challenging.
Right. It just sends a bad when it's in writing. You know, it's
Right.
Thanks
But
for the explanation.
Is there anything else for discussion from the commission today? I know there's something in the chat here. I think now that we're sort of back on track, Hugh's not able to be here today, but Zach and I will keep working on the idea of the community land trust to look for, some long-term solutions. But as everyone I'm sure is very aware, the economy and city budget and everyone's budget is just more in question right now, and so that certainly complicates some of our ideas. And we do still need a new banking representative.
I actually, if I could say, the person I had in mind actually left the bank. So I'll find someone this week to move on that.
That would be excellent. Thank you. And Sarah is currently outside the county, but because everyone is working remotely, Sarah, could you share your plans or what you envision?
I don't know what I envision yet. So yeah, I am currently living in West Palm Beach. We've officially made that move. But yeah, nothing's really changed because we're all working remote anyway. So that really is kind of a bit of a benefit for the Development Council because it gives us a little bit more flexibility to have a longer transition. And we're working with the board on a transition plan, my exit and new director's entrance. And they're supposed to be getting back to me later this week with kind of an idea of what that schedule looks like. So that announcement will be made at some point in the next few weeks. And so at that point in time, I'll start to step away from some of my boards and commissions responsibilities, which there are many.
Yes, I'm sure once that process is official or there's a timeline, if you have someone to recommend from whether specifically from the Economic Development Council or someone that just for the expertise on the economics and housing and workforce development, I think that would be a very useful voice to maintain on the commission.
Of course.
And I hope you're loving Florida.
I would love it more if my air conditioning would work.
Oh, yeah, that would.
That's okay. I'm not going to complain. Because my hometown, so I'm sure all of you saw Cedar Rapids, Iowa, got hit really bad by a derecho 10 years after we had ours. So I have no right to complain when everything I'm seeing is people losing their homes and the devastation that's going on there. So I feel really bad for them.
Yeah.
Iowa was hit really hard. I grew up in Missouri and just barely into Missouri, south of Iowa. And
Sad.
Yeah.
Sarah, do they have someone in mind to take over the position?
No, I can't tell you that.
Oh, I mean, are they actively interviewing?
I can't tell you that either.
Oh, okay.
They haven't decided, actually.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fine. I just didn't know if because you were saying an exit plan.
Yeah, an exit plan for me.
Right.
So in other words, you know, how long they need to let me know, because I've agreed, I've offered to stay on for a certain amount of time,
Oh, right. Okay,
but
good.
they need to decide how long they would like me to stay on to kind of transition
All that stuff.
through that new leadership process. And they haven't told me yet
Oh,
what they've decided. So I don't know. I could be gone in 2 weeks. I might be here till December. I do not know.
good luck.
Thanks. We lost our chair.
I know. I see a chair.
Here, oh, the chair's there. Oh, now the
Here she
human
is.
is.
My daughter is getting ready to take the kittens that we just adopted. We have COVID kittens to the vet, and so she needed my credit card.
That's very cool.
Yes, for a vet visit, that will be one of the critical things: kittens and the credit card. Then, if there's nothing else, please, everyone, do take a minute to review January's minutes. And if, as I've said, February seems like a very long time ago, but if anyone has specific recollections of the February meeting, and I will reach out to those who are not here today to ask.
I'm guessing that there was not a quorum, because if you look at the last line of my minutes, it says it falls on President's Day, but if the city offices are open, we'll have a meeting. So I'm guessing that didn't happen.
I think that we met and chatted for a bit, but that there wasn't a quorum.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
I think that was what happened.
Sounds right.
And so then our next meeting will also be via Zoom, September 21st, if that works for everyone.
How did it get till September?
I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm like looking every day at what my kids' schedule is going to be, and yes, September 21st at noon via Zoom. Thank
I
you.
make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
And we stand adjourned at 12:44. Thank you all.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.